Smoke filled the sky. The ground was broken. Fires burned across the battlefield where hundreds had fallen. In the middle of the chaos, Queen Soraka of the Zinthar Empire crawled through blood and ash. Her right leg was badly injured, armor cracked, and her shoulder burned from a plasma blast. Her royal guards were gone, either dead or missing. Her golden crown was gone. Her pride was broken. She was alone, and she was deep in enemy territory. Each breath hurt. Each movement sent waves of pain through her body. Still, she refused to scream. She was Soraka, the war flame, the breaker of worlds. She had never begged, never bowed. But now, the galaxy's most feared queen could not stand. Her hand dug into the dirt as she pulled herself toward a fallen tree. She needed to hide. If the humans found her, they'd kill her instantly. Then she heard footsteps. Heavy ones. She grabbed a sharp metal shard from the ground. Her vision was blurry, but she was ready to strike. The shape stepped through the smoke. Not an alien, a human tall, strong, dressed in dirty armor with the Earth Federation symbol on the chest. He held a rifle, but it was pointed down. Queen Soraka tightened her grip. Her voice came out weak, but full of venom. "Come closer, human, and I will take your throat." The soldier raised both hands slowly. He didn't look afraid. "I'm not here to kill you," he said. She frowned. "Then what?" He crouched beside her and looked at her wounds. "You need help." She laughed bitterly, then winced in pain. "You would help the queen of your enemy?" "I'm a soldier," he said, "but I'm also a man, and I don't leave wounded people to die." He removed his helmet. His face was dirty, scarred and tired, but his eyes were calm. "My name is Liam Carter." Soraka didn't respond. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small med kit. She tried to stop him, but her arm was too weak. He gently cleaned her burn and wrapped it with cloth. "You touch me like I am not your enemy," she whispered. "Maybe because right now, you're not," he replied. "You're just someone who needs saving." Liam looked around. More patrols would come soon. He didn't know how long he had, but he knew one thing. If either side found her like this, she'd be dead. He glanced back at her. "If you stay, here you die. And if I go with you?" she asked. He looked her in the eyes. "You might still die, but I won't stop walking until I get you to safety." She stared at him in disbelief. She had commanded armies, crushed planets, and now a human soldier was offering to carry her across the land she had once tried to conquer. "You are mad," she whispered. He smiled. "Probably." Without waiting, he knelt, slipped one arm under her back and the other under her legs, and lifted her. She gasped both from pain and shock. "Put me down." "No, this is foolish." "Maybe," he said again, "but I'm still doing it." Liam started walking. The war zone was full of wreckage, broken tanks, torn flags, dead silence. He moved through it carefully, avoiding open ground. He didn't know exactly where he was going. He just knew he had to keep moving. The queen lay in his arms, quiet now. Her head rested lightly against his shoulder. Her long silver hair fell over his chest plate. Her skin was warm, even through the armor, she whispered. "You'll be hunted." "I know. They will kill you for touching me. Let them try." She looked at him again. "You have no reason to do this." Liam didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Sometimes you don't need a reason. Just a choice." The first night, they found shelter in a ruined bunker. Liam gently laid her down on a pile of dry cloth and lit a small fire. Her leg was worse than he thought, swollen and possibly broken. He cleaned the wound again. She didn't speak. She just watched him. When he was done, he gave her water from his flask. She drank slowly. Then she asked, "You carried me all day." "About 10 miles so far," he replied. "You plan to carry me the rest of the way?" "Until I find help. Or safety. However far that is." She stared into the fire. Her voice was quiet. No one has ever done this for me before, not even my own people. Liam didn't look at her. He just said, "Get some sleep. We move at first light." That night, the queen of the enemy empire slept in the arms of a human soldier, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a queen. She just felt human. The morning came with frost. Thin ice covered the grass. The wind howled through broken trees, biting the skin like a warning. The sun rose slowly, pale and cold, offering no warmth. Liam Carter stood at the bunker's doorway, staring at the endless wasteland ahead. Jagged rocks, frozen rivers, burned machines, nothing but silence for miles. Behind him, Queen Soraka stirred on her bed of cloth and metal scraps. "How far now?" she asked, her voice raspy. He turned. "Still at least 20 more miles. Maybe more." She closed her eyes. "I won't survive that." Liam walked over and knelt beside her. "Yes, you will." Without another word, he lifted her again into his arms. Her body was still weak, heavy with pain, but she didn't protest this time. She didn't ask to be put down. She rested her head lightly against his shoulder. "You are not a smart man," she whispered. He smiled. "You're not the first to say that." They moved slow. Each step through frozen ground was harder than the last. Liam's legs shook. His arms ached. But he never stopped. He walked through wind and ash, through broken roads and quiet ruins. At one point, a fighter drone passed overhead. Liam dropped behind a pile of debris, shielding Soraka with his body. The drone hovered, scanned, then flew away. They were lucky. Again. Hours later, as the sun climbed higher, the frost gave way to heat. A strange shift in the climate made the air dry and sharp. Now came fire. Parts of the wasteland were still burning from old battles. Collapsed fuel tanks, crashed ships. Black smoke floated in the distance. The ground cracked with heat. Liam kept going. His feet blistered inside his boots. His lips were dry. His armor, once silver, was now black with ash. Still, he walked. Queen Soraka remained silent for most of the journey. Her eyes stayed half-closed. She studied his face, the lines of pain, the sweat dripping from his brow. Finally, she spoke. "Why didn't you leave me that night?" He kept walking. "Because I knew you'd be dead by morning. You could have gone home." He nodded. "Yeah. Then why carry me?" He looked ahead. "You asked me that already. I want to hear it again." He paused, then said, "Because it's what my people would have done." Soraka tilted her head. "Even for an enemy. For anyone who was helpless. We don't leave people to die." She stared at him. "My people do." Liam didn't reply. He didn't have to. By sundown, he stumbled into a rocky hill and fell to one knee. Soraka gasped, feeling his body shake. "Put me down," she said quickly. "No, you're going to die." "Not yet. You're stubborn. I've carried worse." She raised an eyebrow. "Name one thing heavier than a wounded alien queen." He smirked. "Guilt." That made her quiet again. For the first time, she looked at him not as a human, but as a man carrying his own pain. They reached the base of a cliff with a dry cave just big enough for one fire. Liam placed her down gently, then collapsed beside her. His chest rose and fell fast. His arms trembled. Soraka stared at him. "You've carried me more than 10 miles now." He nodded, too tired to speak. She looked down. Her sharp, royal fingers touched the wounds on his forearm. Blisters, cuts, burned skin. She had burned planets before. But now, she couldn't even heal a bruise. Later that night, Soraka sat closer to the fire, wrapped in a thermal blanket he had given her. She looked up at the stars, millions of them scattered across the sky like broken glass. "I used to think humans were weak," she said. Liam looked at her. "We are, but we still try." She turned to him. "You have no army, No orders. No reward. And yet you carry your enemy across hell. He shrugged. Some battles are worth fighting alone. She leaned closer. And some enemies are worth saving. He met her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't just grateful. She was curious. That night, before sleep took her, she whispered, "If I survive this, Liam, the Empire will remember your name." He looked at her. "I don't care about your empire." She smiled softly. "Then maybe I'll remember it myself." Outside, the stars burned silently, and the Ice Queen of the Zinthar Empire, carried through fire and frost, began to melt from within. The morning came with gunfire. Liam woke first, not to the sound of birds or wind, but sharp, short bursts of plasma blasts echoing from the hills above. He grabbed his rifle without hesitation, eyes scanning the cave's edge. They had been found. Inside, Queen Soraka struggled to sit up. Her leg still throbbed with pain, but her mind was clear. She looked at Liam. "Is it them?" He nodded grimly. "Zinthar scouts. Your people." Her jaw clenched. "They think I'm dead. Or they want me dead." Liam checked his rifle. 1 magazine. 6 rounds left. "Stay low," he whispered. But Soraka shook her head. "They won't spare you. They'll kill you on sight. And I'm still not leaving you." Liam stepped outside the cave into the broken daylight. The valley below was dry, scattered with smoking wreckage from old skirmishes. 3 Zinthar soldiers in black armor moved through the rocks, weapons drawn. One scanned the area. "We saw signs of movement. Target may still be alive." Another raised a scanner. "Thermal trace. 2 life forms. 1 human." "Orders are clear. No survivors." Liam moved fast. He jumped behind a boulder, aimed carefully, and fired. The first shot hit 1 soldier in the chest. Armor sparked, and the body dropped. The others ducked and returned fire. He rolled behind cover as red blasts cracked the stone near his head. Inside the cave, Soraka gritted her teeth. She hated this. She hated being helpless. She reached for a shard of metal and crawled forward. Liam stayed low, moving position after each shot. But he was outgunned, outnumbered. He couldn't hold them forever. 1 soldier crept closer from the side. Liam didn't see him, but Soraka did. From the cave's edge, she threw the metal shard with perfect aim. It struck the scout's leg. He cried out, giving away his position. Liam turned and fired. 1 more down, only 1 left. The last Zinthar soldier stood tall, aiming directly at Liam. "You'll die for her," he growled. "For trash?" Liam stood his ground. "No, for someone worth saving." The enemy fired, and Liam didn't move. He stepped in front of the cave. He became the shield. The plasma bolt hit him hard. His body fell back, smoking armor and blood. Soraka screamed. She crawled to him, pulling him behind the rocks with trembling. "Arms! Liam! Liam, stay with me!" He groaned weakly, pain in his voice. "Still here." She pressed her hands to the wound. "You fool! Why did you take the shot?" He smiled faintly. "Because I knew you'd survive it." Her hand shook. Her breath caught in her throat. "I don't want you to die," she whispered. He looked at her, surprised. "Even though I'm human?" She didn't answer with words. She touched his face gently. Her fingers glowed faintly. Something ancient, something dormant within her bloodline. Light spread across his chest, warm and soft. The bleeding stopped. The wound closed. Liam blinked. "What was that?" Soraka's voice trembled. "A gift, only given once in a lifetime. I wasn't sure I had it." He sat up slowly, amazed. She had healed him, at the cost of her energy. Her glow dimmed. Her eyes fluttered. She slumped forward, into his arms. Hours passed. The danger was gone. The remaining scout had retreated after backup didn't arrive. Liam sat by the fire again, Soraka sleeping beside him. Her body weak, her breath slow but steady. He stared at her, remembering every step of the journey. How she once looked at him like dirt. Now she had risked her life, given her power to save him. She stirred. "Still breathing?" he asked softly. She smiled weakly. "Disappointed?" He laughed. "Not even close." She looked into the fire. "I was taught to hate your kind, to see you as animals." Liam nodded. "And now?" She met his eyes. "Now I see a man who has more honor than my entire empire." The silence grew warm again, but different. He offered her a drink. She sipped, then leaned her head on his shoulder. She whispered, "You shielded me today, with your body." He nodded. She looked up at him. "Maybe one day, I'll shield you with my crown." Liam blinked, then smiled. "You already did." The night was still, too still. A broken escape pod lay buried in the hills, half covered in sand, rusted from old battles forgotten by both sides. But tonight, it had new life. A fire crackled inside its metal shell. Warmth returned to the cold world, and two enemies sat beside it, not as warriors but as survivors. Liam sat shirtless, cleaning the burn wound on his side. Queen Soraka, wrapped in a cloak stitched from both Zinthar and human fabric, watched him quietly. She had healed him once with ancient light, but even that power came at a price. She was weak now, her energy nearly gone. Still, her voice was steady. "You never stop moving." Liam looked up, smiling. "If I sit too long, I remember everything." She tilted her head. "And you don't want to remember?" He paused. Some memories burn deeper than wounds. The fire popped. Sparks rose and danced in the air like lost stars. Soraka moved closer, dragging her injured leg, and sat beside him. Her eyes flickered between the flames and the scars on his chest, faded lines that told silent stories. "What happened here?" she asked, pointing to a deep mark on his left side. "Sniper," he said. "Year 2 of the war. I pulled a wounded soldier to cover, took the hit instead of him." "Did he survive?" "No." She was silent for a long moment. "Why keep saving people if you keep losing them?" Liam stared at the fire. "Because maybe the next one won't die." A breeze blew in from the hills. Soraka shivered slightly, Liam noticed. Without a word, he reached for his blanket and placed it over her shoulders. She hesitated. Zinthar royalty did not accept comfort from humans. Ever. But she didn't push it away. She whispered, "You treat me as if I'm not your enemy." "You stopped being my enemy a long time ago," he replied. She looked at him. "When?" "The moment you let me carry you without cursing me." She laughed, softly, almost shyly. It was the first time Liam had ever heard her laugh. It changed her face. Less queen, more woman. "I used to believe humans were weak," she said after a while. "And now?" She looked directly at him. "Now I think humans are dangerous, but not because of your weapons." He raised an eyebrow. "Then why?" "Because of how easily you forgive." Liam looked away. "Not always." "But you forgave me." He didn't respond right away. Instead, he asked, "What about you?" "What about me?" "If you survive this war, what will you do?" Soraka's eyes darkened. "I don't know. I've ruled so long through fear. I don't know what peace even looks like." Liam turned to her. "Maybe it looks like this," he said. "Two enemies, one fire." They sat in silence again, the distance between them smaller than ever. Then Soraka did something that would have once been unthinkable. She leaned her head gently against his shoulder. He stiffened at first, then relaxed. "It's strange," she whispered, "how safe I feel beside someone I was taught to hate." Liam smiled, eyes on the fire. "And it's strange," he said, "how much I want to keep you safe." The stars outside moved slowly above the pod. Inside, 2 lives, 2 broken warriors, found something new in the ashes of war. A calm that wasn't in their orders, a connection that wasn't in their blood, A fire not just from wood and flame, but from something quietly growing between them. The sun rose behind black clouds. In the open plains beyond the broken escape pod, wind carried the smell of fuel and smoke. Liam tightened the straps on his gear, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. They were close now, only 10 miles from the neutral zone. If they crossed it, they could call for help. But that morning, they weren't alone. Queen Soraka stirred from her shallow sleep. Her leg throbbed, but the pain was less than before. Her head felt clearer. When she looked around, Liam was standing outside the pod, tense. She saw it too. Shadows approaching, from the west, not human. Zinthar armor, elite warriors, her people, her soldiers. She tried to stand, but stumbled. Liam rushed to catch her. "Stay down," he said. "They'll think you kidnapped me," she warned. "They won't ask," he replied. The soldiers arrived fast, weapons raised. Their leader, a tall warrior with silver skin and red eyes, stepped forward. "Queen Soraka," his voice was surprised, then sharp. "You live." She stood straighter, brushing Liam's hand aside. "Yes." The warrior's gaze turned to Liam. "A human? Armed. Too close. Step away, my queen, we'll deal with him." She said nothing for a moment. Liam didn't flinch. The leader raised his weapon. "This creature has no place beside you." Then came Soraka's voice, strong, sharp. "Put your weapon down." The warrior paused. "My queen?" "He carried me through fire and ice. He protected me when I could not walk. He saved my life." The soldiers exchanged glances. Soraka's voice grew colder. "And if anyone raises a hand against him, they raise it against their queen." Liam stared at her. The silence that followed was heavy. The leader slowly lowered his rifle, but the unease remained. Later, in a secured mobile unit, Soraka sat on a cot while a Zinthar medic worked on her leg. Outside the tent, Liam stood under guard, watched by warriors who still wanted to see him dead. He didn't care. He only watched her. Inside, Soraka dismissed the medic, then called for Liam. The guards refused. She stepped to the tent, opening herself, eyes like fire. "Bring him to me." When Liam entered, Soraka stood without help. Her leg still hurt, but she stood for him. "They wanted to kill you," she said softly. "I noticed," he replied with a small grin. "They still might." He stepped closer. "So what now?" She looked at him for a long time, then said something he never expected. "I have a duty to my people, but I can't lie to myself anymore." She stepped even closer. "I was raised to lead, to conquer, to crush anything that made me feel." She reached out, touched his chest. "You make me feel, Liam." He looked down at her hand, then at her eyes. "I'm not royalty," he said. "I'm not even a soldier anymore." She smiled faintly. "I don't need a crown. I need someone who carried me 30 miles without asking for anything in return." He laughed softly. "And what would that make me?" Soraka's voice was calm. "Not my servant, not my shield, but something more. My chosen, my mate, if you'll have me." Outside, Zinthar guards still watched, still judged, still didn't understand. But inside that quiet tent, the lines between enemy and ally, conqueror and protector, queen and soldier, blurred. The gates of Zinthar Prime opened wide after 10 long days. Massive towers of silver steel rose into the sky, guarded by cannons and glowing shields. The capital city buzzed with warships and diplomats, unaware that their queen was returning not in a golden cruiser, but in a dusty transport, walking beside a human soldier. Queen Soraka entered on foot. No fanfare, no ceremony, just quiet footsteps, a stiff leg, and a man named Liam Carter at her side. Her people watched from balconies and towers. Whispers followed her path. "She lives. Is that a human? Why is she walking with him? Where is her crown?" But Soraka didn't flinch. She was not the same queen who left. In the royal hall, her council waited. 10 elders, all pure-blood Xanthar, all loyal to tradition. As she entered, they stood. One stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, "we heard rumors that you were wounded, that a human was seen carrying you." Soraka raised her hand. "They are not rumors. They are truth." The elder frowned. "And is it true? You wish to bind yourself to this outsider?" Gasps echoed. Liam stood quietly at the edge of the room. His hands stayed at his sides, his back straight, but inside his heart raced. Soraka faced her council. "I was broken on the battlefield," she said, "and none of you came." She looked toward Liam, but he did. An elder slammed his fist on the table. "You dishonor the throne. You plan to choose a mate from the enemy?" Soraka didn't raise her voice. "I am not choosing a soldier," she said calmly. "I am choosing a soul." Another counselor spoke more carefully. "Queen Soraka, you are a symbol. You were born to lead. If you name him your mate, our allies will rebel. They will see it as betrayal." She stepped closer to them. "Then, let them see." She turned to Liam and extended her hand. "This man saved my life. He did not ask for my name, my title, or my reward. He gave his strength when I had none." She took a breath. "And I would rather lose my throne than lose the only one who ever saw me as more than a crown." Liam stared at her. This wasn't just politics. This was real, but he hesitated. "I'm not like them," he said quietly. "I'm not Xanthar. I don't know your customs. I have nothing to offer." Soraka smiled. "You carried me 30 miles through hell. That is more than any prince has ever done." Silence followed. Then Soraka turned to the council. "If I must choose between power and love, I choose the man who carried me." The elders whispered. Some were outraged, some were stunned, but none dared speak louder than the queen's voice. Because even broken, she stood stronger than them all. That night, the palace lights glowed a softer color. No royal parties, no golden speeches, just one queen standing at a balcony in her black robes looking at the stars. Liam joined her, still unsure, still humble. "You just changed your empire," he said. She didn't turn to him. "No," she said. "You did." He stepped beside her. "Are you sure about this?" She turned to him now, her eyes full of fire, and something gentler. "Yes, Liam. I carried the weight of an empire my whole life, but I never felt lighter than when you carried me." She reached for his hand. "Let's carry the future together." The stars over Xanthar Prime burned bright that night, brighter than they had in decades. But inside the royal palace all was quiet. No trumpets, no marching soldiers, no speeches carved by advisors, only soft music in the gardens and two people, walking slowly between glowing trees. Queen Soraka, once called the Iron Flame of Xanthar, now walked without her armor. Her robes were deep blue, her crown left behind in the war chamber. By her side walked Liam Carter, dressed in simple white, his hand still scarred, his heart still uncertain. But she looked at him like he was the only one in the galaxy. They stopped beside a fountain made of crystal. "Do you remember the cave?" she asked. He nodded. "The cold, the fire, the way you threatened to stab me with a stick." She smirked. "I was scared." "You didn't act like it." She looked at him with soft eyes. "I never had to. Until you." Inside the palace, the council had quieted. The people had stopped whispering. Something strange had happened. They had accepted it, not because they were forced, but because for the first time in their history, they saw something new from their queen. Peace. Not through victory, not through fear, but through choice. Liam sat beside her near the fountain, his boots brushing the smooth stone. "I never thought I'd end up here," he said. "You mean in a palace?" "I mean beside the woman I was trained to kill." She touched his hand, gently. "You weren't trained to kill me, you were trained to fight what I used to be." He looked at her. And now, I'm someone new, she whispered. Because of you. That evening, Soraka stood before her people, not as a ruler above them, but as a voice among them. Her speech was simple. I fell in war. I rose in kindness. I led in silence. I now lead with truth. I was saved by a man you once called the enemy, but I call him my mate. And this is no weakness, it is our greatest strength. No one spoke for a moment. Then hands began to clap, slow at first, then all at once, because they saw her not just as a queen, but as a woman reborn. Days passed. Peace talks began across the galaxy. Old enemies lowered their weapons. Former slaves were freed. The empire began to open, not to conquest, but to connection, and in the heart of it all were the two who had carried each other through 30 miles of fear and fire. One morning, Soraka awoke beside Liam on the palace balcony, wrapped in warmth and silence. She looked out over her city, the towers, the ships, the lights, and for the first time since she wore the crown, she felt no weight on her shoulders, only calm, only peace. Liam turned to her. You're smiling in your sleep again. She laughed softly. Because I'm finally allowed to? He took her hand. What now? She kissed his knuckles. Now, we build something better. And so the queen who once ruled by fear, son, chose love. The soldier who once marched to war chose to stay. Together they forged a future, one not written in blood, but in trust. Because sometimes the most powerful story is the one where enemies carry each other home.